late night show covering the election, talking about the market's reaction and all that. Let's get into tonight's video. Okay, folks, we'll see who shows up at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Lots going on. A couple things that I will bring up here while we're waiting for the room to come in. Hey, Todd. Let me go over to this other screen. This is the poly markets. I've got Trump 93.4. We're looking at right now the S&P up 0.94. It's actually backing off a little bit, and so it's pretty exciting from this standpoint anyway. The 5-minute is trying to do a little bit of a rollover. We've got some downward pressure finally coming in, but it's just been stair-stepping since the close of the earlier session. Now, I'll show you some things I think is pretty interesting. Anybody that's been reading my Substack, I think it's been 4 days ago since I did a YouTube video, but the Substack, I've been screaming for the last week that it was interesting that the algos were predicting that there would be a low on election day. Well, I guess that was right. That's crazy. And plus, we're even getting a big bid in Bitcoin as well. So that's pretty amazing from that standpoint. But yeah, just while the room's filling up, we'll see how many folks show up. I saw a decent amount of views on Twitter. Probably get some of my European crowd that never get to be in on our lives a lot of times. So anyway, so markets, it really took off. I mean, we were up maybe right now 2% since the opening this morning. Just right from the get-go, everything was just blasting off here, and it was just it's just been a relentless rally, and it looked like maybe we're going to fade back just a little bit on the reopen, and everything started to kind of go crazy. And just to bring up this other screen again, poly markets have been wrong before, folks, but they got 93.4, 7.4% for Harris right now. And it looks like, just talk a little election stuff here. It looks like to me that, Trump's got to take Pennsylvania or Wisconsin. I don't think there's any shot at all on as far as getting Michigan. I don't think that's possible. But those are the real things that I think has to happen. So it'll be a little while, but we can. And Arizona's close. Who knows where it's at? It's nuts. I live up in the rural areas in Arizona, about roughly 90 miles north of Phoenix, and it's pretty. If the whole country went like this place, it would be Trump like 95%. But down in the valley, we've got a lot of new residents in. We'll just leave it at that. Some are new residents that who knows what's going on there, but a lot of California folks that have come out, especially in Maricopa County, and Phoenix and Maricopa County represents about 60% of the state. So, but it's been pretty amazing of all the odds that are out there. But we'll see if poly market ends up going to 100% here. I think they had Hillary on 2016. This almost looks like the inverse of Hillary, where they had her up in a 90%, 91 or 92% going to win, and we know how that went. So, So Maricopa County said cannot run an election. No, they cannot. It's interesting. I lived in Maricopa County for quite a few years and moved up to the mountains to get out of the heat, and that's crazy. Yeah, Trump 216, Harris 193. I saw a number, a different number. It was a little bit more than like 240 Trump, and so listen, it comes down. It looks like he's going to get Georgia. It's going to be close there, and it really comes down to Pennsylvania or Wisconsin. So let's take a look at some of the markets here and what's went on, and this let's kind of tie this together. I want to bring up the database as well because, as I said, if we take a look at the algos here, this is a 5-minute chart I have up here. Starting to see a little weakness. We got this downward move here on the 5 on ppm1. ppm2 is still kind of under pressure. We do have some Fibonacci targets here as well, and we're just looking at, and this is short term, right? So we come over to the daily chart though. This was what's been going on and what I've been going on and on about. So hopefully you folks didn't get to hear, but this is tired of hearing this from me. But this was the day on the 4th. The prediction of the algo was almost a V bottom on ppm1, and ppm2 ended up to get a V as we came into this. And so this was Monday the 4th, and this was today. Everything turned up, and the algos are right. If we look at the red dot indicator here, if we go full screen, you can see what's being projected here. It's pretty vertical. And this has been, I talked about this in last night's Substack. I talked about, for the last two elections, 16 and 20, we got vertical moves. It's almost like the markets it's a relief rally of all the rhetoric and all the junk. If you lived in one of the swing states, like here in Arizona, if you turn the TV on, it's been obnoxious. So at least you'll be able to watch, the TV without all the rhetoric that's going on all the time. So, but this is what the daily looks like. Let's flip it over and do a couple of things here. Weekly. Weekly is kind of a interesting scenario, and this is where the cross currents start to come in. So we may get this election bump. The weeklies still have one more week of stronger forecasts, and then it starts to look weaker as we come into the end of the year. Think about it, folks. We just finished the election. Tomorrow the FOMC starts, and so we're going to have that to put into the probability map. The earnings this week are nothing. Last week was the big earnings reports, all the big techs and big companies. There's a few significant, but for the most part, I forget the number now. I want to say there was 12 or 1,400 earnings reports, but nothing was really that material. And so we're just seeing this happen. So let's take a look at this. Is interesting though. Let me blow this up so we can see this. The weekly chart, we are trading RTX weekly. That number is 50, let me see here, 58.76, and we're looking 58.84 high. So we basically have traded up to that extreme number here for the weekly even. So for all practical purposes, that we've probably hit the extremes for the week. And let's pop over to the WaveTech database real quick. This was interesting. This is the daily. I meant to count these up here, but I'll do it on the fly. We've got roughly 3,100 new buy signals for tomorrow morning. So this was after the close today. If you've been following on the Substack, we were 26% bullish. We just bounced to 37 overnight. So we got a 10% burst. All of a sudden, the database is starting to turn. We could be back above 42. And some of the things I've been talking about with some of the cracks in the weekly may not come into play. We'll see how it plays. Just because the short-term database is bouncing like this doesn't mean that this is it and we're going to start to go back into 60, 70% bullish. That's not what it means at all. It's just, all it's telling you is that we're getting some stability here, but pretty impressive bounce. And the weekly, let me put that up there just so we can see it. Right now we're at still 66.94. I've been talking about the 61% level. That's where we went down to twice this year. as we went through this big rotation. So that has been the case as well. So um, yeah, yeah, I think AZ goes red. I do too. Yeah, it really is, and it's been that way, Ed. Rural America against the big cities. That's it. And it's amazing because the big cities are such a shit show. I usually don't say any curse words, but it's unbelievable what goes on down in the city. I had the occasion to be down at City Hall in Phoenix last week, and it was I'm just going to do air quotes, a Biden freedom zone. And you know what was there? There were a bunch of homeless. There were some really strange people running around the street. I'm being followed by some woman talking to herself, but I think she was talking to me. I worked in Chicago, San Francisco. I worked in big cities a lot in my life, so I know what to do with the crazy street people. You just ignore them, right? So that was but it was really kind of eerie down there, downtown Phoenix. It was like vacant. Okay, I'm at City Hall, and yeah, there were just nobody on the street except for some pretty surly looking folks. Anyway, but the database, this is going to be the big story for me. I'm going to hang out with you guys for a little bit, so let's kind of do interactive stuff. Let's do this real quick. Let me run just through some charts here, and we'll take a look at, let's look at NQ. We'll go to, we did see, we're not hitting the extremes here on the NASDAQ. This is weekly NASDAQ. Let me go to daily on this, just to take a quick look. Daily is kind of right at the extreme. RTX is 20,646. We're 20,640. So we're right there. We've seen this before in these overnight markets where we're hitting peaks. So, I've been kind of looking at this thing, and I'm looking at I have a PC above here. So I have 4 monitors, and above me is my PC, and I'm seeing the kind of the 5-minute, looking at the level 2 trading. It's very thin out there, which is pretty typical at this time of night. So the bid that you see out there in this rally is pretty, I would call it not very solid. It doesn't look like anybody's around right now. There's 10 on the bid and 7 on the offer. So it's very illiquid. There's not a lot of players. There were some decent players earlier. So a little, until we come into the London opening, which is about 2.5 hours from now, we'll probably see maybe see some softness. Maybe the liquidity will return around then. A lot of times the Europeans proxy the E-minis for their own purposes while all the New York people are sleeping, and that changes shortly after, probably an hour and a half after the opening of London, where we'll see a lot of East Coast U.S. traders start to come into play then. So looking at the NASDAQ here, looking at PPMs, they're also flattening out on a daily. There's some stability here. The red dot, which I'll bring back up here, let me just expand this a little bit so you can see it. Everything's forecasting up. If you remember, we were being forecasted down into the 40-day moving average on all of these indexes. Pretty much all I talked about on the Substack on coverage. We actually traded on the NASDAQ. We held it, the 40 period. We traded right at it on the S&P. Let me just bring that up. On the S&P, we actually saw where we traded 2 sessions below it, and yesterday on the rally that we got earlier today, we saw that rally now follow through, and we've already, they said overnight we've hit this. So I'm thinking we're probably at an extreme from the standpoint that everything kind of got a little bit overdone. We'll see how it trades back out. The those of you who get the Substack. If you don't get Substack, it's kindlereport.substack.com. It's $8 a month. There's a free trial for a week. And the last couple of issues, I've been just doing free editions. So sign up for free. I usually do a couple free issues at least every week. But yeah, definitely get that. That's where I'm doing all my micro analysis on day to day, and we'll go through some of the scenarios that I'm looking at from that standpoint. Let me just yeah, just bear with me a second. I'm going to bring something up from the other screen. Yeah, so just so put this out here. Bear with me a second. Yeah, so if you haven't seen the Substack, this was last night. I have something that I do called the bear with me. This Mac is doing some strange stuff. Yeah, so I'll have my opinion. I do. This was last night, and then I do a look back, and then I go through all the markets, the database, and go through all the specifics. It's pretty detailed. So, definitely check that out. So let's go back to our analysis here. But yeah, if we look at the daily futures, I mean, they're projecting vertically. Let me just see if I can, let's do the weekly again and just try to take a look at what's going on here. Then I'll do a quick rundown of what I think is going to happen here. So this is the mixed picture, and I know we have if you have our indicators, kindlereport.com/indicators, if you have those, you get access to our private Discord. And in the Discord, I was just looking at it on my other computer here. One of the things that folks have been talking a lot about, this how the algos are positioning. Specifically, there's a conflict going on between the current weekly and trying to compile the daily together. So daily looks very bullish, weekly looks more sideways, and I think what we're seeing here from the algos is they're getting a bit of a reaction. I think they'll normalize in a couple of days. Think about it. We've got the elections today. Thursday we have the FOMC decision, which I believe will be a nothing burger. I don't think they do anything on this meeting. I think they hold off until December. I'll talk about that some more. Listen, from an electoral college, as soon as California reports, I mean, the left coast is going to be, California, Oregon, Washington's all going to be Harris. So it's going to be pretty close no matter how it plays out. But like I said, it comes down to Pennsylvania. So let's let's do something else here. Let's go to RTY because we have seen some strength in the Russell coming in, and this is a weekly, and we've still got some. Hang on, let me get a different. We still are seeing. We're actually seeing the RTY go above the RTX level on a weekly basis, so we're probably going to just be more of a chop. Although the high that we saw back in July was 2,000. Let me get this number, 2307. So far now we've got a 2346. So we have made a new high. We still have two Fibonacci targets above here. which are suggesting 24.21 and 24.96. So there's still higher prices here. I still think this is going to be a laggard as we go forward. Yeah, just looking at some of your comments, somebody's saying each website uses slightly different projection algos, so numbers are usually a little different. Yeah. Yes, somebody's asking, can you run the software on a laptop? Absolutely. Matter of fact, if you can even run it on one of these on an iPad. You can do WaveTech. You can also do TradingView, and the indicators will come on that as well. So you can run them on your phone. You can run any of those devices. Hang on, this thing is bleeding off the bottom, the most recent. Yeah, regarding the vote projections. Yeah, I knew what you were talking about. Yeah, everybody's got kind of little different numbers. Yeah, it's interesting. Robin, Tesla's up $20. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. So, let's take a look at the 10-year real quick while we're just hanging out. It's been interesting, the 10-year, we're starting to get some peak values, but I was talking about this, I think I don't cover the treasuries every day, but we do have Fibonacci targets here let me just bring these up, at 455 is a target. And if you recall, there wasn't very hard to find anyone outside of myself that when the Fed lowered the front end of the curve by 50 basis points, everybody was predicting that all the rates are going to go down, and they're shocked that we basically up almost 1%. We were 360, 370 when they lowered the rates, and now we're printing, right now we're printing up at the 430 levels and kind of hanging in around 425, 430 and change. So it's not exactly what everybody was talking about. I've shown you this website before. Let me just put this up. Let me go this way. I think you can go. Yeah, so it's US yieldcurve.com, I think it is. Yeah. And one of the things that's kind of nice that you can do here is they let you go back, and it's going to put their Patreon up, but it lets you go back to, we can go back to the beginning of the year and take a look at, let's just set it to January 1st. So now the red line is, this is how the yield curve was positioned when we came into the beginning of this year. So a couple of things are pretty obvious, and it's something I was talking about for a while. I'll draw something in here on this, is that what I've been talking about for a while is that this is where I think the yield curve is going to go. Is ultimately we're going to be, let me make this a little fatter so you can see it. Ultimately, what we're going to end up with here is a yield curve that is probably shaped like this, where the yields are going to be on the front end will be at the 3.5, as low as 3%, and the back end is going to be 375 to 4.25. I've been talking about this for well over a year. So what we're finally seeing here, you can see from what's happening here is this is where we were at the beginning of the year. So now this is the Fed 50 basis points. I think they're going to just move it down every meeting after. I don't think they do anything, but it doesn't matter if they do right now. But I think we're going to get 0.25% methodically going down as we come into 2025, I think. And the reason it's not because the economy is getting weaker or any of that. It's because this line I have here, this is going to be the desired shape of the yield curve. And this is a very healthy yield curve for as far as the banking system goes. Okay, this is, borrow short, lend long. You make a profit, right? There's a spread here. The inverse has been the case where you've got you've had this inverted. We heard so much about the inverted and how it was going to cause a recession and all that. And I've been calling no recession, but really all the Fed has been doing is working on normalizing these yields. And that's why the back end of the curve went up. And, even though we're seeing many disasters in the real estate market from that standpoint. Let's see what questions you guys are. Yeah, somebody's saying that she can't lose. Yeah, if Trump wins any of the so-called blue wall, it's over right there. Just call it quits. We can all go to bed. Yeah, the Dominion machines. Yeah, so somebody's got a question here, and just let you know, and we're working on it. Well, I was hoping to have it already announced, but we are going to be doing a mini symposium. Last year I did a presentation, and I'm going to be correcting what I learned a lot from last year. And last year I thought I was going to do 4 hours, 2 days back to back, and we were going to go through all this information. As it turns out, I tried to do too much, and there were constantly coming up with subjects that I could have spent an hour on to maybe 2 hours on subjects, and we never got in depth with them. So this year I'm doing the same thing, only we're shortening up. There's going to be 2 days back to back, and we'll come up with an announcement. We're working on a final schedule right now, and so there'll be 2 days of 2 hours with an hour of Q&A. We're going to set up a private chat line on our Discord just for the people that participate in there, and it's basically going to be a mentor. We're going to be focusing on a couple things, on exact entry and exit points, and really zeroing in on how to use the PPMs. We're also if you come to this presentation, so watch your emails. I'll be doing some stuff here on YouTube about it, but you're also going to get 3 months of the WaveTech Portfolio Manager packaged in with this thing. So I think you'll find it. I'm working on all the presentations and everything now. I've got quite a bit done. But there's a little bit to go. It's probably going to be, what is the date here, the 5th? It's about a month out from now. So we'll let you guys know. Like I said, we're hoping to have the marketing material out tomorrow. So somebody, and the goal is really to ultimately have a mentor kind of environment. One of the things you guys know, I'm not on YouTube like I used to be every day. I've got some family issues that need to be tended to right now, and so I'm doing my best to show up every 4 or 5 days right now. But the Substack gives me, I have an opportunity, and I still do that. It's 9:30 here. I probably won't start the Substack till about 11 p.m. my time, which is now we're only 2 hours behind New York right now, so that'll happen then. Yeah. So. But how do I get on your mailing list? Yeah, that's a good question. I think we have, I think if you go into, I'm not sure how this is set up, but if you can get on it pretty easy, if you go to kindlereport.com/indicators, if you click on like more information, it's going to collect your email right there and you'll get on the list. You don't have to buy or go forward, but at least you can submit your email there. That's one place. We used to have a place where you could just submit that, and that would be the best way. I think that's probably that's the best way, because that gets right into our CRM and all that stuff. So make sure that's probably the best way to get in there. Yeah, so yeah, we've got a couple things like I see Pam talking that right now on the indicators you can rent to own, and you can also subscribe. So if you don't have a lot of money, you can get that. But the rent to own is probably the best way to go. I think it's $37 a month, and you end up owning those. There will be a replay and an opportunity to get in this. But this is the other thing, is this upcoming event is just going to be one of multiple events, because I realize there's way too much. One of my associates and I were talking, it's just, there's too much to learn and to be mentored on to really get a real in-depth pattern. So there'll be one on these exact entry and exit points, setting up that type of information, and there's going to be trading strategies. There's a three-pronged approach that I've used to teach in my live room that's really handy, and we'll be doing that. There's also going to be a complete how to manage your own money, and there's going to be a section on that. There's going to be some, they'll also be included in this when I'm doing it, will be a little brief, but it will be there. It's basically overcoming psychological pitfalls and making trades and those type of things. So that will be available as well. Yeah, so oh, you have the indicators. Well, good, yeah. So like I said, once we finish the event, I think what we can do is we can do a smaller increment. If you don't have, we'll repackage things. So we definitely want to facilitate. Not everybody has a lot of money. That's why we started the indicators like we did. Now, I haven't listened to Prechter. Somebody's asked me if I've listened to Prechter lately. Yeah, so Bob's, this is probably about the 10th time that Prechter's been calling for the grand super cycle wave ending. Yeah, I met Bob back in the probably mid 80s, and that's never really had anything. I've been pursued many times by people on his staff and things out of Georgia that trying to get me to buy his newsletter. I'm not going to do that. But yeah, he's a little bit of got a little Harry Dent in him, and that this is, and you can scream that all you want. I still think there's ultimately a lot more on the markets on the upside yet. So yeah, yeah, I don't know. I mean, when we went to 3,600 on the Dow Jones, what year was that? That had to be 90, something like that. I remember he was screaming that was the end, and then every time there's a big rally, that's the end. And in 2008, and especially 09, 10, what I've been promoting is that was potentially the fourth wave, but it's actually evolved from there. We should probably go through some of that analysis. Yeah, River, I'm glad you're here too. Just looking at some comments here. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, FX Tracer. I've tried to find some. I've tried to reinstate that, and I don't remember what happened. I had some moderators and people back in the day when we were, rolling daily videos and stuff. So I'm not sure what happened. I do know you mentioned that before, and I tried to find the banned accounts, and we got 50. We've got close to 50,000 subscribers, and we've had a few trolls hanging around from time to time. Yeah, let's do a Bitcoin. We haven't looked at that. And what time are we getting to be here? We're 35 minutes in. I think we're going to be. So I still have a work day ahead of me. I still got to write the Substack tonight. So we'll hang on a little bit. We'll go back. Let me. Let's go. Let's flash to Polymarket real quick. Yeah, 95 now for Trump. It's interesting because they've got him 92% to 8% on Pennsylvania. Let's see what this Wisconsin is. 94. So, these things are kind of hokey, but 86. They've got Trump winning all of the blue wall, which if that happened, that would be, I would even start to talk about mandate. It also looks like it's possible the Republicans are going to get control of the Senate. And one of the things I talked about last night, I'm bringing up the Substack real quick here, is I went through some analysis on what it looks like when there's a Republican president and a split House and Senate. And that's the best returns, about 14% on, I think, the year after. It's interesting. Democrat president and a split Congress is only 9.8. There was 23 years that existed. So I did some decent research on this. And then the Democrat and unified government, where they've got control, is, like I said, is 12.9. Republicans unified is 13.6, so slightly better. In the end, folks, it doesn't even matter, right? So, you just kind of, we go through all these gyrations. I think there's some shifts in the government that we've seen. And I don't know if you folks saw the latest, what do they call it, the collage, where all the news networks and all the people are using the same words, but now they're saying our bureaucracy is now being challenged. So, they want the hierarchy to stay in place, and the deep state and all that. So they're very upset that might be over. So I don't know if you folks saw that meme with Ron Paul, and if you've seen the movie Office Space, and the Bobs that were doing it, and they were challenging all the employees, and they had the meme. So what is it that you do here? So there's a lot of government employees that don't do a lot, and the U.S. government's the largest employer. So who knows? But just wanted to bring that up real quick. So let's go over and take a look at. Let's go to Bitcoin. Yeah. So I've been talking about for a while on this. This is the. Hang on one second here. Okay, all right. It turns out, yeah, okay. That's pretty interesting. Yep. I just got a text from somebody. One of our family members was working with Ted Cruz in Texas, so we've got a lot of Texas folks. So we got a picture there. Anyway, that's cool. But the Bitcoin has taken out this number, and what's interesting, this is the weekly again, and we're seeing this type of pattern on a lot of the weekly charts. We're trading up at the RTX level weekly on Bitcoin. We, 73,794 was the old high that we made back in March 11th, and now we've been 75 and change. So we've made a new high, but we're about to potentially get an RTX sell signal. The algos are suggesting we're going to come back in this pattern. So a lot of times you'll see a new high. A lot of folks like to look at that as a breakout, but if we look again down at the algos and stuff, there's still some potential follow through here because the algos are still very strong. We have ppm1 at a 2.7. We have ppm2 at 0.61, and ppm3 is 1.4, and it's 2. Yeah, so ppm2 hasn't accelerated yet, but ppm1 and 3 have, and these are very strong numbers. So I would suspect that we get consolidation and probably at least we'll stay above that 10-period moving average, which is not even in play at the moment. This is a weekly chart. So let's go to a daily real quick. So daily big time RTX sell signal, potential inverted V top here. We also hit the Fibonacci target I've been talking about, and that's 75,620, high 75,80. So we're just short of that fib target, and then the algos are showing that we're going to flatten off a little bit. So be careful of getting too excited here and buying the breakout. Yeah, listen, I have I'm kind of going back. I'm doing a weave, okay? Going back to the Prechter comments. I respect Prechter. He did some great work. He brought R.N. Elliott into our lives and writing his first book that I read way back in 1979, I think it was, when I first got the book. And so that's actually one of the few market books I've ever read. What I consider selling right now, there's still some pretty positive momentum on Bitcoin. Just depends on what your trading style is. If you're a trader and you're not hodling, then yeah, I mean, you can always, I would watch it pretty close for any type of signs that we're getting a rejection here. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, yeah, it's pointing up, but we're getting the reversal. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So a valid comment. So this little right here, this little V. So we'll get these little V tops, and all they do, they're momentum peaks, and a lot of times what we'll get from that is we'll see the markets reject. Here it's just projecting sideways. There's still a nice little angle of attack here on all of the averages. The good news about this angle, this is on a daily. Oh, I'm going to blow this up in a minute, but it's a nice solid underlying uptrend. So you've got really good readings on all the PPMs, and that is what you're saying is I'm pointing up. So, and all that would mean is it's a momentum peak and it comes back in where if we get RTX sell signal, it just means we come back into the grid range. Doesn't mean it's a top. It sometimes can if you get multiple events at the same time, but this is pretty much an isolated one-off event from that standpoint. Yeah, it doesn't really repaint from that standpoint. It actually takes in, it's not one of those indicators that are repainting, so they always look good. what it's doing is actually looking at the coefficient, looking back. When it gets the next data, the way that all goes working there's a bit of a heavier weight on the front end of that coefficient. So it's developing patterns that is typical going to happen. So all we've been seeing is this wavy pattern. So it's just projecting those waves at the moment. And what will happen once we get the actual data on the next bar, that's why I tell you, I've got these bars looking way out there, really worthless, beyond 2 to 3 bars. But if you think about it, if you just know that you have a high probability, I haven't got an exact number on them, but it's roughly about 60% of the time, if we have an up or a down, that we get some type of movement around that. And it's usually within a market grid. If we get a close up here at RTX, it could mean nothing. If this thing's breaking out, it's going to run. You got a big community out there, and you got a lot of arbitragers that could get caught really easy. Yeah, and it is still pointing up next week. Absolutely. So all it tells you from this is on a daily basis, that momentum's at a peak. Doesn't mean that it's going to roll over and there's big. This is a top. Although if you look back on the S&P, basically the forecast was pointing to November. I talked about this. November 4th to the 6th was going to be most likely bottom for the market, and it looked like it was centered right on the election day, and that's where all this started. So will it follow through from here? It's hard. You have to just pay attention here. We're trading right now. We traded off of the highs. We've traded back up. There seems to be a steady bid coming in. We're about 2 hours yet from the London Open. I keep forgetting I'm half of the year here in Arizona. We live in Pacific time. The other half we live in Denver. So right now we're in Denver, and I keep forgetting. It takes me a few weeks to adjust my mind to the timing. Just looking at some comments here. Yeah, so we've been going about 47 minutes. Just come back up. Appreciate everybody showing up. We got only about 137 live, but it is late in the day. And I'm not even sure a lot of European folks are looking for this thing to click in. It's still a little early in the morning there. Yeah, so as far as the PPMs go, they are going to, once we get actual data for the next bar, they will sometimes reforecast, because we were looking. It was interesting because the forecast going back, if you went back a week, and I found also, and I've talked about this, is a lot of times if you do the replay on TradingView, it doesn't look the same as when the data was coming. It's almost like it knows, it changes how the data looks. So that has been an issue on the replay. It still shows it that it was there, but what we were getting going back a week ago or so is that the 4th to the 6th was going to be a bottoming pattern. We got down to some of the key numbers in the database and all that. But check out the Substack here in a couple hours. Probably be it'll probably be about 4 a.m. New York time when I get that done. I'll actually gonna get off here and take a break. But I appreciate everybody. It is late on the East Coast, so. Let me see if I can. This was something I was hoping to have, but give me just a second here. See if I can get. Oh, okay. Let me just see if I can get something up here. Yeah, so I'm not sure who this is, but I'll bring it up over on screen here. As we got 230, 205. Yeah, look at Maricopa County, 49.8 to 49.4 in Arizona. So that's pretty dang tight. Well, they got Nevada's not showing anything yet. But this is pretty much how everything was mapped out to be. So Georgia went, like I said, Pennsylvania right now, 51.4 to 47. That's an interesting number. I thought I was on the screen. Okay. Yeah, so here we go. Now you can see what I'm looking at. Sorry about that. But the 205, 230, I said Arizona's really tight, 49.8 to 49.4 for Trump. Georgia's clearly looks like that's a done deal. 93 reporting. What's Arizona? 50%. So it could go either way here in Arizona for sure. Pennsylvania though is interesting with 82% reporting, 51,447 with 12. What we're looking at 18% to go. Chances are that I don't know what counties have reported. Philly might swing it a little bit, but yeah, that's pretty tight there. Let's see what Wisconsin's looking like. 74%. This is interesting. 51.3 to 47. That's big because it only takes one of that blue wall to go. And what's Michigan showing right now? Michigan's 51.6 to 48.6, and we're 42%. So that's either way there. That's pretty tight. But Pennsylvania at 82% at 51.4 to 47. That's going to be tough to close. Maybe Philadelphia, if that's what's hanging out there. I don't know what the details are. If you got, a big metropolis is still not reporting, then that could definitely swing that. But right now, if you look at this, you're kind of optimistic if you're hanging out at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. So, yeah, it's pretty true. I think if Trump wins Pennsylvania, though, it's kind of over. There are some other probabilities. I've seen a bunch of folks going around, but yeah. But the map looks pretty much like it has been looking. The only thing is with Minnesota, 59%, 53.44. That's obviously Walt's state. But Wisconsin, I would say, is interesting. They got 75%, 51,347. Just if you carry out those statistics, it's possible to close the gap a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to work out. So Trump gets Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, then it's definitely over for sure. That's funny. Somebody's got Elon's canceling his flight out of the USA. Yeah, I remember the leapfrog up in Pennsylvania for sure. But yeah, it's going to get interesting. Late night, I'll be up writing and doing the Substack here, so I'll be up for a while. Hopefully, they'll nail some of these down. Just looking at some other comments here. Yeah, but actually it was better like I had it. It looks to me that that's very interesting how things are configured at the moment anyway. But everything else, I think Arizona's real close. Arizona's important too. Nevada, all they're saying is their results are expected free. last I saw, Nevada was kind of swinging towards Trump, and I think it's Clark County is where Vegas is. That was like going reasonably well for Trump at that point. Yeah. So yeah, and Will Green, we were talking about Bitcoin being at all-time new high. A lot of times you get a rejection out there. So like I said, be a bit careful. We're seeing RTX sell signals, some things going on. I'll write that up on the Substack. If you don't get Substack, go there, kendallreport.substack.com. There's a free trial for a week. And sign up for free, even if you don't. It's $8 a month. You can do a year. I think it's $6.60 a month if you sign up for a year. It's $80 for a year. So keeps me motivated. I that's where I'm doing all my micro analysis. Very soon, I'll be doing my 2025 outlook. And if you go back and look at the 2024 outlook, it was pretty insanely accurate on what's happened so far this year. We still have a ways to go. Obviously, it's November 5th, so we've still got the better part of 7 weeks to go before the end of the year. Yeah, somebody saying she won't lose PA or any of the wall. I don't know about that. Certainly, we all have an opinion. Yeah, I don't know if that's hopeful. If you look at the stats in PA right now, depending on what's out there, you know, statistically on this last, let's see here, we got 17%. If you run those curves out, it doesn't work out probability-wise, but certainly anything's possible. Yeah, I don't know. We all got an opinion. Anyway, yeah, let's just, it has been about an hour, so I am going to call it quits. We'll see. We'll find out hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully you don't have to wait 8 or 10 days to find out. Markets are starting to sell off a little bit. One last glimpse before I go. Yeah, so we're starting to see a little downside here, not a lot. We're at, 40, just looking here, we're printing 82 on the 5882 on the 5-minute. We're starting to see a little bit of deterioration, especially on PPM3 down here on a 5-minute. So all that's telling us is we're probably going to test this value down here, which is going to be around 77 or so. So if you look at, we were right at the close of earlier today, we were trading around the 20 levels. So, you know, we're printing up 50 handles since the close earlier today. So, like I said, I think it's a relief rally. I don't know if it has anything to do with the poly market view of the world. It's softened a little bit. It's 94.7 for Trump. Doesn't mean anything. It's fun to look at. But like I said, this is how it looked for Hillary on 2016, and I think it was 92%, and then it just turned. So, hang on 1 second here. Yeah, I'm just looking. I was getting some messages coming in. So anyway, folks, thanks for hanging out. I'm glad you did. I possibly will come up on the Discord live tomorrow at the end of the day. I've got a couple of things I have to deal with tomorrow. But that's one of the things, if you have the indicators and you have the link you should have gotten a link to our private Discord. You can check out, I will post events up there. I've been doing, was doing quite a few last week. I've had a bunch of conflicts this week. And so the result is that I've been coming up the last couple hours of trade, and we hang out and we talk markets and do that kind of stuff. So anyway, thanks again. Hey, Wayne, good talking to you the other day. Appreciate it. The vendor, you're up early, it looks like, huh? Anyway, yeah. Yeah, thanks. Last time it looked a little negative coming into the last two elections have been just like this one, where the markets just rally out of the gate. All right, folks, have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.